Imagine London in the swinging 60s, a city alive with music, fashion, and glamour. But beneath the glittering surface, a darker world thrived, ruled by two of the most infamous figures in British criminal history, Ronnie and Reggie Kray. Identical twins, born just 10 minutes apart in the heart of London's East End. From a young age, they were inseparable, sharing a bond that would define their lives and their criminal empire. They were charismatic, sharp-suited, and utterly ruthless. Their journey began in the boxing ring, where they learned the discipline and brutality that would later become their trademark. But the small purses of professional boxing weren't enough. The Krays had bigger ambitions. They wanted power, respect, and the city itself. They started with a rundown snooker hall in Bethnal Green, which they soon transformed into a base of operations. From there, they launched a campaign of extortion and protection rackets, preying on local businesses. If you paid, you were under the firm's protection. If you didn't, well, let's just say you wouldn't be in business for long. Their reputation for violence spread like wildfire. They were feared, and in the East End, fear was a currency more valuable than cash. By the early 1960s, the Kray twins were no longer just East End thugs. They were celebrities. They bought a nightclub in the prestigious West End, Esmeralda's Barn, and suddenly, they were rubbing shoulders with the rich and famous. Hollywood stars like Judy Garland and Frank Sinatra, politicians, and socialites all flocked to their club. The Krays cultivated this image of glamorous, powerful entrepreneurs. They were photographed by the legendary David Bailey, becoming icons of a dangerous, alluring underworld. To the public, they were Robin Hood figures, East End boys who had made it big. But behind the velvet ropes and champagne flutes, the reality was grim. Ronnie, openly bisexual at a time when it was illegal, was a paranoid schizophrenic. His explosive violence was unpredictable and terrifying. Reggie, the smoother of the two, was the businessman, but he was just as capable of cold, calculated brutality. Together, they were a perfect storm of charm and menace. Their empire was built on a foundation of intimidation, arson, armed robbery, and ultimately, murder. They believed they were untouchable, above the law. This arrogance led to their first major, public act of violence. In 1966, Ronnie Kray walked into the Blind Beggar pub in Whitechapel and shot a rival gangster, George Cornell, in the face, in front of a room full of witnesses. Why? Because Cornell had called him a fat poof. When the police investigated, they were met with a wall of silence. No one dared to testify against the Krays. Their reign of terror continued. The following year, Reggie, driven by jealousy, brutally murdered Jack, the Hat, McVitie, a minor member of their own gang who had failed to carry out a hit. The murder was messy and chaotic, a far cry from their carefully constructed public image. The cracks in their empire were beginning to show. But Detective Chief Superintendent Leonard Nipper, Reed of Scotland Yard, was a man who didn't intimidate easily. He had been building a case against the twins for years, patiently gathering evidence, waiting for his moment. The murders of Cornell and McVitie were the turning point. Reed and his team worked tirelessly, slowly convincing witnesses that they would be protected if they spoke out. Finally, in May 1968, the law caught up with the Krays. In a series of dawn raids, the twins and key members of their firm were arrested. The wall of silence crumbled. People who had lived in fear for years finally found the courage to tell the truth. The trial was a sensation. The full, brutal extent of their crimes was laid bare, shattering their celebrity image. In 1969, both Ronnie and Reggie Kray were found guilty of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment, with a recommendation that they serve a minimum of 30 years. Their empire collapsed overnight. Ronnie spent the rest of his life in institutions, dying in Broadmoor Psychiatric Hospital in 1995. Reggie was released from prison on compassionate grounds in August 2000, suffering from terminal cancer. He died just a few weeks later. The legacy of the Kray twins endures. They have become almost mythical figures, symbols of a bygone era of London, a time when gangsters wore sharp suits, owned the night, and held a city in their grip. Their story is a powerful, cautionary tale about power, paranoia, and the inevitable fall that comes when you believe you are above the law. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next dive into history's most compelling characters. See you in the next one.